Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
Yo, I'm doing good.
Matt, a little peek behind the curtain. I feel like every time I do the introduction, I try to do it in kind of one, gasp of breath.
Okay.
And the introduction just now, I'm short of wind. And is it that time again, Matt, for our weekly check-in about our, mortality and our losing fight against Father Time?
Jaren, I love our bit of my bad body.
I mean, it's a regular. Now that I stopped purchasing sparkling water because, Matt, tell me if you heard this before, sparkling water is expensive now.
Oh, man. Jaren, everything's expensive.
We need to replace it with, just showing how fragile we are as old men, officially old men right now.
Jaren, I don't like time. I can't believe time's doing this to me.
In true old men fashion, you know how we need to start off this episode, Matt?
What is that, Jaren?
So how about that weather lately?
Jaren, the weather lately has been pretty wild.
I don't know, man. I feel like every day. So, part of my morning routine is, of course, I'll start up with my Duolingo because, Matt, got to keep the streak alive. I keep the streak alive, and then I'll check the weather
Jaren, sorry.
Yes.
How many days is your streak right now?
I am currently at, Matt, let me click just to make sure. I have the flame next to my streak, 26 days.
Oh, nice.
26 days, but Matt, I was demoted.
Oh, no.
I was in Sapphire League for a moment, but I got moved down again just because, Matt.
Oh, no.
The more you climb... Matt, how do you feel about Duolingo being sweaty?
Jared, the gamification of language learning is actually kind of wild. Oh, man.
There's some... Now, I'm not trying to, be proficient with Duolingo just because it's... You know what they say, man. If you want to really be comfortable with the language, you need to at least speak to someone in that language every day, something that I am currently not. And with Duolingo, I honestly just kind of use it as a tool to... I think I've explained it on the podcast before, but, before a trip, try to refresh, common greetings. And then in between, as of late, just try to... pick up random Japanese phrases, just something to help kickstart my brain in the morning, Matt. But there was always something weird to me about, as you said, the gamification, just the leaderboards. I know you can turn it off, and I think I might turn it off.
Oh, no.
Just because I'm looking at my Sapphire League right now, and in 48 minutes, I'm going to be demoted back into Gold League.
Oh, no.
But I'm looking at, number one in our current leaderboard, whatever group. He currently has 8,200 XP. And the next one, number two, they currently have 1,600. And so,
oh, man. At
that point, man, I gotta ask, is, the purity still in it? Or is Difel_1 just doing it for the grind, just doing it for the points? Man. Is he actually, or are they actually learning?
I mean, maybe they're learning, Jared, but like, oh, you said the disparity was about 8,000 to 1,600-ish, right?
Yes.
Jaren, do you think people bought Duolingo?
Matt, I'm looking at Difel_1 right now. Not to put Difel_1 on blast right now. Props to him. He's trying to learn Brazilian. He's trying to learn Italian. 23 days streak, but Matt, 22,000 total XP. 2 top 3 finishes. I don't know, Matt. So math isn't mathing, but he might just be on the grind. Maybe he really does want to learn Brazilian and Italian. So who am I to hate? Who am I to hate who is about to be demoted into Gold League? But I don't know. I think it's just something like, oh, I'm looking at my leaderboard right now, and the fact that they specifically say, hey, you're about to get demoted, which feels kind of anti trying to benefit you from learning. So I don't know, Matt.
I mean, I get the motivation behind it, Jaren, but yeah, I think if I saw that I was about to be demoted, I would maybe like, I don't know, feel less inclined.
It just doesn't feel great. And then mostly, Matt, again, I'm just doing this to get my mind stimulated, because if I'm not Matt, I'm just going to be refreshing YouTube every 5 seconds, hoping someone clipped a cool HoloLive clip.
Same. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I also feel like there needs to be more. I know you can do practice runs that reviews different lessons just to get like more hearts or whatever, in your life. But I feel like there should just be a section that you can just go into. I know you can repeat lessons, but and practice them. But I feel like there should just be a grab bag of, hey, we're just gonna give you stuff from your previous lesson, just to get it going. And just doing the Japanese one right now, I know every few lessons they're just gonna make you, hey, let's just teach you hiragana for like 20 lessons straight. And I don't know, man, it's a bit weird, but again, I'm not trying to do this to be proficient. Just want to get the mind going, man. Just want to get the mind going.
Jaren, have you ever considered moving to like more serious, not specifically language apps, but like just like learning apps? Something like, I guess more so I'm thinking about like Anki. Anki.
Matt, did you see that topic floating around Reddit like a few days ago in regards to how someone learned... Sorry, Matt. When it comes to proficiency levels, what are the different levels again?
It's like N1 through 5, 1 being the highest, 5 being like the most like basic.
Yeah, I feel... Did you see that? I think it was something like someone was able to do like the N1 test within like 8.5 months and then he posted a study guide, and I feel like... Without trying to go out and try to find someone I can speak Japanese with, I know I do have some friends that are like, you're better off just buying all these different like grade school books and approaching it that way. And I feel like the moment I do that, Matt, that's like super committing to this, where Duolingo is just like something. And then, as you said, kind of moving on from casual, this probably isn't really helping me, to an actual alternative. I think that's me, buckling the seatbelt and going, okay, I'm actually going to do this. So I feel like when I need to step up, or I'll need a reason to step up to do that. But for now, I'm okay with that. If I'm ever in a situation to ask someone if something's delicious next to me, or if someone... I'm covered, Matt.
Oh, man.
Or if I want to order sushi and green tea, also covered.
Oh, man.
Matt, what's up with you?
Jared, I'm just here when it's raining. I look at them like, ooh, nice rain. Then I go outside and I stand in it.
Oh, Matt. Oh, man. I want to apologize to my dog.
Why?
So earlier today, I have to walk our dog just because, of course, she needs to go for a walk. So I plan to walk her at around 10 a.m. And Matt, I may or may not have been logged into Nikkei, Goddess Victory at the time, and there's a solo raid event going on right now. And I may or may not have been attempting to kind of rank up in my solo ranking or solo raid ranking. Trying a different build and just kind of going at it. Matt, when it comes to these solo ranking and union ranking events, I don't do the practice mode first. I just go for it. I have 3 attempts a day and I just go for it. So that made me push our walk to around 10:30. So, we start walking. Halfway through, we have our route. We go to the garbage can. I drop off the poop bags. And that, we're walking back home, and I look up, and I see an overcast. And I think, that doesn't look good. And then we have, I don't know, like probably 10 to 15 more minutes of walk left, just with the route we take. Because we're going like around our neighborhood, and there's like no shortcut to get back to the house. That couple steps later starts to spit a bit. Okay, no problems. Spitting's fine. Torrential downpour, Matt.
Oh, man.
And the whole time I'm not listening to music anymore, just because the raindrops are hitting or like flowing down my headphones in a way where it keeps triggering the touch control. So it's just going to keep pausing, forwarding, going up and down. And I'm trying to like get her to run home and she's not about it, man. She's kind of confused, wondering why it's so wet outside. And Matt, you know what feeling I hate? When you're walking and there's just a bunch of water in your shoes, and then your socks kind of like puff up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not the best. And the whole time I'm thinking, if only I took our dog half an hour earlier as I intended, wouldn't be in this mess right now.
Jared, I can't believe EK would do this to you.
I didn't even rank up that much, Matt. Feel bad, man. So I apologize to our dog for getting her wet when I didn't have to. But Matt, how's your rain, other than standing in it? How's your rain experiences lately?
I mean, Jaren, for me, it was, I think, a lot better than than yours because, you know, I was at home when it started raining and I had the choice, you know, the luxury of, you know, putting on slippers and just walking outside in the rain because, I don't know, Jaren, I like standing outside in a downpour, and I don't know if it was like this like on like where you were, but there was like no signs of thunder or anything, so it was like, you know, just a nice just torrential downpour. I think this is the hardest I've ever seen it like rain in like the past little while, and I don't know, it's pretty nice. It's like you know, doing one of them outside showers.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a difference between, you know, being you choosing to stand in the rain where it does feel refreshing versus, oh man, I made a boo-boo again. Oh man. Speaking about boo-boos, I had a lot of boo-boos this past week because not one final check-in, and I feel like for the foreseeable future, my journey in the lands between has ended. I have officially finished Elden Ring, Shadows of the Erdtree. I have finished the final boss. You know, its reputation preceded itself. I knew going in this was probably going to be the hardest boss in From Software history, according to internet discourse, and that I totally agree with that.
Oh man,
there's just, in my opinion, I'm going to kind of talk around the final boss, but without giving too much away. But I'm going to say the first part, I think, is actually pretty well designed as a boss in terms of, you know, just attack patterns, visibility, and just reacting in time and just general fight feel. I think it's when the second phase starts off that things get a bit too hairy, just because it's what I kind of complained about, not necessarily complained, but noted last week, which I feel like with a lot of the bosses in Shadows of the Erdtree, at least the major bosses, it is lightning quick attack chains, attacks that do AoE, and just so much visible noise where visibility is really difficult, where you might be hit with an AoE attack, even though if you dodged it, there's just so much visual clutter where, oh, now I'm like instantly dead, or this guy grabbed me. And I think trying to navigate that, especially as a mage player, Matt, I tried so hard, where it was 65 attempts as my mage character before I said, Matt, I have to sell my soul. I need to at least introduce, I believe, 9 more larva tiers. You know, the things that let you respec in the game, which, again, Matt, classic Miyazaki, not sure why I need an item to do this. One that is finite and one I can't at least grind, but it is what it is. Went to respec my character, and that... told you last week the perfumer build is a no-go, so...
Yeah, what's the new hotness, Jaren?
I took all my levels. I pumped that all into Vigor. I pumped it all into Endurance. I pumped it all into Arcane and Dex and Matt. I did the classic big shield and fast poke sword.
Nice.
Where the shield in particular, I wanted the fingerprint shield. I'm not sure if you Matt, didn't realize when I was cleaning up my initial Elden Ring file, putting on a bow on it when I was trying to get like the frenzied finger ending. And you get that by going through the door at the bottom of, I forget the cathedral, but you have to do that platforming section, which
Yes.
honestly is probably one of the worst parts of the game. And I didn't realize the fingerprint shield was down there, so had to run it back, Matt. And then I know this, DLC was spouted to be around 25 to 30 hours, and I can kind of see it being that way. And as I said, I started this game with 1 hour 20 or 120 hours in my playtime. I ended just over 180, and Matt, a lot of that was just kind of trying to find the fragments, the revered spirit ashes, but also kind of just going back into vanilla because it's one of those, I missed this spell that I should probably have. I missed this item. I missed this sword. And I think it was nice also just going back, seeing what items I was missing, noticing that, this area of the map didn't have any grace points or bonfires. So, and just kind of re-exploring that with my new tools. And I don't know, I thought it was pretty fun in that regard, Matt. But as I said, after 65 attempts at the final boss, went with the tried and true. I'm just going to go in with my buffs, hold my shield in front of me, and hit R1 to thrust my basic shield attack and hopefully get bleed accumulating. And that, needless to say, took me 12 additional tries, but finally saw the ending. And Matt, if there's one thing about Shadow of the Erdtree, and going back to another point that was made constantly during the lead up of, this piece of DLC has so much more story to it. I felt like the ending was pretty underwhelming in that you get one real cutscene and that's it. Where it does make sense because technically this isn't post, Elden Ring ending. This is sort of to run parallel when you meet the certain requirements. And just to kind of go all that to essentially beat the final boss of Elden Ring. I don't know. I feel like there should have been something more, or at least trigger something to give you an additional ending when you have to eventually get there. But
I mean, Jaren, to be fair, the ending of actual Elden Ring isn't really all that amazing either. I think.
That's pretty fair as well, Matt. But I think one thing I wanted to note too was when I was going back to get some of the items that I missed, I did it after I, unfortunately respect, and I was running through dungeons with because I was a mage boy and now I can't use any of my staffs, I can't use any of my spells, I don't have the FP. So I was using level 1 items and just tickling enemies. But then I was super buffed up with my defense and my heavy armor where nothing was really damaging me. So I got to the final boss of this one cavern that I needed to get a weapon from. And once again, I'm just tickling the enemy. And I thought, right, I can equip Rivers of Blood at the very least. Just use the Rivers of Blood skill. And it was Dunzo where... That's what I like doing, Matt, where just going back to all these old dungeons with me being stronger and immediately annihilating everything, where at the end of the game, I was hit with that post, I want to play more Elden Ring, so I'm just doing a lot more cleanup. But at the same time, I don't want to start a new game because I feel like that's investing too much into this, where... I want to play more, but I have nothing else to do other than, just clean up again. But even that, I don't know, Matt, I feel like I need to tie up a bow right here. But yeah, it was more Elden Ring. I really enjoyed my time here. And one thing I also wanted to note was the lead up to the final boss. You have one more encounter. And I think it's really big in terms of story, but at the same time, Matt, as I said last week, since I was kind of beelining everything, that encounter in particular kind of meant nothing to me just because it's, why am I fighting right now? And why are these people fighting alongside me? And aren't we friends? Wait, isn't that guy my friend? Why is he like trying to kill me? Or wait, doesn't this guy hate me? Why is he fighting alongside? I don't know. It was just like really confusing, but it did feel really cool. But
Jaren, that is a very Souls-like experience that you just dropped.
where you get this big cinematic battle experience, and it's wait, what's going on? All I know is I need to kill. And but yeah, Matt, Elden Ring, still good. I know I'm just going right now before, we started recording. I was just looking, oh, here, check out this armor set that I never knew existed, and kind of just doing that. For maybe one day when I install this again in the future to actually follow a cohesive story guide of do this, do this, do this, so I can kind of meet everyone and maybe get a better understanding. But Matt, good times. I think the final boss is it's some bullshit, Matt, but as long as you have a big shield in front of you and a pokey stick that can inflict a bleed, and enough stamina, I think you're good, Matt. I think you're good. But Matt, speaking about Souls-like games, remember last week when we talked about Crazy Taxi? Matt,
Yeah.
I was looking through my Steam to install, and then I saw that I still have Crazy Taxi, the Steam port released whenever. So Matt, I installed it. Just we had Crazy Taxi on the mind, and I wanted to kind of experience it. And Matt, I'm bad at Crazy Taxi, where I'm doing the arcade mode, and I can only make it to like 4 fares before I run out of time because Matt. Matt, before I continue, what are your recollections about the Crazy Taxi gameplay?
Jaren, I remember a lot of people jumping out of the way, me barely ever driving on roads, and not really knowing where to go, but really liking anytime I got to drive off that. I don't know if there were multiple or if there was just like one, but like any that was like a very sharp, steep like hill downwards, but since you start at the top, you kind of fly over it for a bit.
Yep.
I mean, Jared, to be honest, I was playing this whenever Dreamcast was out, so I think maybe we were just in our like teens, so that was the perfect amount of entertainment for me.
Fair enough, Matt. Fair enough. Matt, did you ever read the instructions to Crazy Taxi?
Jared, to be perfectly real here, I don't think I had like access to the instructions of Crazy Taxi.
Fair enough, Matt. Fair enough. Matt, going back to your experience with Crazy Taxi, mainly the Dreamcast.
Yes.
Do you know why there was a gear shift, like 2 gear shift buttons, I guess, in terms of the Xbox controller? Why the A button put you in reverse and the B button put you on brake?
I honestly, Jaren, don't even remember these buttons doing that. I think I only ever pressed go.
So in initial Crazy Taxi, Matt, you do have a technical gear shift. You can either go into reverse or you can go into drive. And Matt, reading the instruction manual, did you know that there are 2 techniques in Crazy Taxi? One called Crazy Drift and Crazy Burst.
I did not, Jared.
So Matt, there's a mode in Crazy Taxi. I think it's called like Crazy Box or something, which gives you a set of, I believe, 16 challenges in all. And every time you finish a set of 4 challenges, you get an achievement. And that these challenges specifically need you to utilize Crazy Burst and Crazy Drift, or at least whatever the burst and the drift is called.
Okay, Jared, I understand what Crazy Drift is from like the context. Is Crazy Burst just like a burst of speed forward?
Yes, to do, in theory, you are supposed to let go of both your accelerate and in turn your brake, shift down to reverse, and then shift back to drive, and then you hit your accelerate, and you're supposed to get a boost from that. Where that the first ever Crazy Box challenge, like World 1-1, is you trying to jump on a big ass ramp and then get like I think 150 feet or something. And to do that properly, you need to crazy burst.
Uh-huh.
And I read the instructions. I was looking at some guides just because I wanted to know how to do a crazy burst. And I felt like I was only doing it a handful of times to get it to work. And likewise, you'll get to a challenge where, you have 30 seconds to smash 30 or 70 bowling ball pins. And then in theory, all you need to do is like snake, just snake your drifts. And again, I was only drifting a handful of times. And I was looking it up, and apparently the port for the Crazy Taxi on Steam, the control, you need to mod it so the controls are in the original analog form, whatever that means, because the port runs through their controls digitally. And that means that your bursts and your drifts don't work all the time just because it's, going off how they were done analog style. But I'm rambling right now, but all I'm saying is, Matt, I'm using that as an excuse to why I can't burst or drift. So, Matt, as someone more proficient in technology, did whatever I say make sense to you?
I mean, I think so. Does that mean that like you specifically need some kind of controller that has analog triggers to make it work? Did you guys have analog triggers? I can't even remember how to play Crazy Taxi now that I'm thinking.
I think the fix is it fixes dead zones, like the default dead zones, just so you're able to do stuff a bit more easier. But not. The moral of the story is, I know I sounded like a complete raving lunatic just because I don't know what I'm talking about. But at the same time, all I'm saying is I like the concept of there being a drift and a concept of being a boost, but I hope when they re-release Crazy Taxi or whatever this new Crazy Taxi, it's streamlined a lot better just because not trying to burst and drift does not feel good. I'm too used to Mario Kart drifting.
Jaren, I wish every driving game controlled like Mario Kart does.
Now that you know of the existence of bursting and drifting in Crazy Taxi, does that make you feel any different about the game and your memories of it?
I don't think so. I don't think I would have had any more fun at that point knowing that I could do that. But I think if I played it a little bit older, I would have regretted not knowing it.
Matt, things were so much simpler back then. All we did was press go, pick up a passenger, and hope we could get them to KFC in time. Matt, speaking about controls, I'm just going to go through some quick hits, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Matt, over here in the Mistake Zone HQ, we played a bit of that It Takes Two.
It's a good game, Jared. It's a good game.
We got to the point where we beat the vacuum cleaner boss and we turned it off for the evening. But all I'm going to say is I actually really like how this game feels. Like, it has a good game feel where just moving your character around and the jump, I don't know, it just feels good, Matt. I don't know how else to describe it, where even the dash you have feels, it just feels right. Where I know you're technically playing as dolls in this game, and I don't know, I was just pleasantly surprised at how like tight the game felt, and even early on, just the quality of puzzles, especially when you get the screw and the hammer, and I don't know, in terms of how it's not afraid to let you as the players kind of go your separate ways for, not an overly long time, but at least enough where, I don't know, I feel like I appreciate the puzzles in that regard, where you don't need to be, handcuffed together, tied at the hip.
Yeah.
Where just being able to, one person to go around further than I would expect in a co-op game like this. And I don't know, it's just a smart use of the being able to split the screen when you're far apart. And I don't know, I was just pleasantly surprised. It's such an old game. It is revered. It is a fair, popular. And the number one recommendation I feel like whenever someone asks, hey, I need like a couch co-op game to play. But, coming to it years later, I was just pleasantly surprised overall where not. What did you think of, since you, of course, have played it, what are your general thoughts on It Takes Two?
I really like It Takes Two. I think it's a very good, I guess, like co-op experience. I think it hits a lot of good like platforming notes. I don't think anything really overstayed its welcome too much. And Jaren, I think for me, like one of the things I really liked about It Takes Two is the variance in the worlds and the like variance in powers that you get in the worlds, and with how many worlds you hit, how many good set piece moments you get in like for each of like the major worlds.
Yes. Where did you play? What was the first game that they made?
It was like that prison breakout game. It was A Way Out. And Jaren, I started this game. I'll be honest, I didn't enjoy playing this game.
Really?
Yeah. Because I think that I think also it's kind of like bad that I went from It Takes Two to A Way Out.
Oh, okay.
And It Takes Two is far more of a video game, whereas I think A Way Out is far more of a story. It's a lot more like something maybe a bit more complicated than The Walking Dead.
Okay.
And I don't know, but it was like disguised a lot more like it would be a game, and it just really, really didn't click with me for a lot of reasons.
Right. Where, yeah, I know since It Takes Two and A Way Out are, again, the de facto, hey, I need a couch co-op game. What do you guys recommend? And of course, these two are going to be out there, shout out to the developer Hazelight Studios. But I don't know. I think with A Way Out, at least personally, it did seem a lot more cinematic when, based on the videos I watched, where I'm just really curious how the storytelling actually is, just because you're, two steps removed from just watching like a procedural piece, like a crime drama, where if it doesn't have the gameplay that, to help support it, then I don't know. I feel like that might be a harder sell compared to It Takes Two, which, after some story context really puts you in it, really puts some puzzles that, are simple initially, but in the moment really give you that good aha moment where I think even just aesthetically playing It Takes Two, I think it makes me want to replay Portal 2 co-op as well.
Oh yeah,
which again gave me the same feeling, and I have such a big nostalgia spot for that game, where it's been a decade plus since I last played that co-op, where I forgot everything except one or two de facto puzzles. But Matt, on the topic, any other couch co-op, split screen co-op games come to mind for you?
Jaren, right now all I'm thinking of is like all those times we played like Castle Crashers or Scott Pilgrim. Like beat 'em ups are really in my head right now.
Now, did you play any of the River City Girls games?
I have not played any of those, Jaren.
Okay. I enjoyed the first one. I never played the second one. I'm curious to know how it is, but Matt, there's that Power Rangers game. We need to figure out what to do with it when that comes around. To finish up my grab bag, Matt, I bought a game during the Steam Next Fest in early access, but I bought Rooftops and Alleyways, the parkour game. Matt, real quick, this is essentially if Skate was a parkour game, and I don't know, Matt, you know me, I like a good flow running video game. I like traversal. In this game, you only have like 4 environments, and it's just you kind of free running around. There are little challenges scattered throughout some of the levels, which are really amount to time trial obstacle courses. And I don't know, it feels pretty good, Matt, where I think for the most part, the animation is pretty smooth. Like the flow from one or move to another, I feel like the animation flow is really well done for the most part. I think the only thing that gets me is doing the back handspring, where it to do a back handspring, you press Y and then you press to kind of do a kind of like a little flip in a way, and then your back's forward, and then you hit B to do the back handspring. Where I feel like the transition between the Y animation to the B to the actual front handspring doesn't flow that well, which is a shame, just because like all the other things, there's just this brief pause before they go into the back handspring animation, which is kind of weird. But other than that, just mantling, quickly vaulting over things, and even the quote unquote tricks that you can do, like the little flips, the spins in the air. Those animations are pretty well done. Yeah, I like it, Matt. Again, I like free running. Like, the animation's fun, and sometimes I just want to turn my brain off after I'm bored of launching Skater XL or Session and doing 360 flips for 10 minutes. I think, okay, I'm just gonna run around in Rooftops and Alleyways until I get my fill. And I think that's why I like these games so much. Just that notion of free running, of free skating, just doing something, listening to music, a podcast, for a quick 10-minute burst. And if there's some customization. I like dressing up my dude. But other than that, yeah, not like if you just want to run around for a bit. Still early access. I bought on sale during the Steam sale for like $16. So it is a kind of hefty price for kind of the content you do have. But again, if you just want pretty decent parkour traversal in a video game form, check it out. Figuring out different lines feels really good, looks really cool. So that's what I've been up to this week, Matt. But Matt, what have you been up to this week?
Jaren, I, along with, friend of the show, Noel, aka Twitch TV / Pogi Pogi, have been playing gotten back into Palworld together. And Jaren, we decided to restart from a fresh save file. We didn't bring over our old save.
You want the pure Palworld experience.
Having a new pure Palworld experience. And Jaren, the quality of life in this game has so improved since it released, and I really, really appreciate it going through it a second time.
So, Matt, early access once again with the original release or the initial release of Palworld. What are these quality of life changes, Matt, that has you excited to meet new pals?
I mean, I think one of them is that you just have more ways to get materials instead of it being so strictly, hey, you have to get it from this one machine or in this one place. They've added more spawns or easier spawns or more drops per, I guess, resource node, which is very nice. One thing that they kind of took from Pokemon Arceus is that instead of it being kind of like a normal Pokemon game where you're one and done after you catch a Pokemon, you are kind of more pushed to capture the same pal over and over, and the bonus that you get for that maxes out at 12. Okay. And they've added a counter to show you how many times you've caught a particular pal, which is oh,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's that's a very nice quality of life. The building has become a lot better because now there's a lot more snapping in place, so that you don't have to guess as much. Palworld is also one of those kind of building systems where you need foundations to really be able to kind of build stuff. You can't just have a huge overhang, because that would break physics in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And they've added just columns basically, which act as foundation pieces, but they don't take up as much space, so you're able to freely build a lot more interesting structures. They've added glass as a material into the game, which I'm is really nice for creating kind of like more skyscrapery structures. I think like and there's like a lot of like new what do you call it? Just world mechanics that have been added. Whether it's something like meteors, which are just world events that will randomly happen, and it'll bring certain different types of pals to the world because like, I don't know, they're coming from space or something.
Space pals.
Jaren, they're space pals. They're space pals, and they also introduce something called supply drops, which allows you.
Oh, I know those. Those are we have to contest those, right, man?
Actually, you do have to contest them. When they drop, they spawn with a bunch of like the standard enemy for the area, so you get to kill them before you get to the supply drop. And these like supply drops usually have like nice crafting materials. They have good items in them, and I think kind of like surprisingly to me, they have one of the new potions, which is something I kind of want to talk to you about, Jaren.
Okay.
Because initially Palworld was a type of game where like every level up you get a stat point to apply to like your health, your attack, your defense, your like carrying capacity, your work speed, or whatever. I think those are like the places that you could put them. And you could only previously get to level 50, I think was the previous max, so you would only have like so many skill points that you could allocate.
Yep.
What does supply drops have, and like what is a new I guess like gatherable resource that you can get in the dungeons is that you get these resources to make these certain potions that basically act as a stat point. So you can now infinitely scale your character, I think. Maybe there's a hard cap. I haven't hit like that yet for any of the what do you call it? Status like attributes. But Jim, what do you think about like being able to like scale infinitely like that in a game where you previously couldn't?
That's so Matt, you know me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm someone who spent a ungodly amount of time on a particular ledge in a particular game in order to get, to level up to get a few dozen more, let's say, HP. That means nothing in the grand scheme of things. Where I'm no stranger to trying to, min-max my character. But I think with Palworld and, you describing, kind of ranking up or skilling up indefinitely, my question is, to what purpose does that actually serve other than my sick brain seeing numbers go up? Where in turn, does the game get more challenging to, respond to your increases, or are you just doing it for the sake of doing it at that point?
I think at the very end, you are going to be doing it for the sake of doing it. But from what I understand, I haven't been able to hit this content yet since it's supposed to be a little bit further from where I am. But they do kind of prestige versions of the bosses that you can fight that are going to be, beyond max level difficulty. So I'm thinking like that's what the potions are going to be helping towards. But like, since I don't know like how difficult they actually are, maybe these potions aren't really fully needed. But I do think that that's a thing to consider.
Where, I don't know, Matt. I feel like you kind of do need those parameters to really get the most out of a leveling system. Where, I don't know, if you can just level something infinitely without the parameters, it's, okay, how, if I do this for so long, I for expect to one-shot everything in my vicinity just because I put everything into attack, for sake of conversation. But I don't know. That doesn't sound really appealing to me just because I don't see a particular goal I'm working towards other than, I'm just going to pump everything into attack and to see what happens, which, I don't know. If there's no like cap, unless it's something similar to Elden Ring where, once you get to, I don't know, level 80, everything after that's just diminishing returns. And you're just doing maybe 1 HP more damage with every power up, and eventually, in theory, you'll get to that one shot play style. But I don't know. That's just me. Where that I was on board with all the quality of life stuff until that part where I don't know. That just creates a weird.
You know what? I should probably check to see if there is a stat cap for
Yeah.
Palworld real quick. Okay, yeah, sorry, Jaren. Okay, there is a stat cap. There is a stat cap.
Fair enough. Okay, then I'm back in, Matt. Then I'm back in. Sorry, I was trailing off there, but I guess that's just in general how I think about something infinitely scaling, because in turn you'd want the world to scale, but if Bofuri, I maxed out my defense, has taught us anything, that just becomes a balancing nightmare. So that's just me, Matt. That's just me. But Matt, I'm guessing there are some new pals.
Yeah, there's a bunch of new pals. There's a whole new island that you can go to that has a bunch of new resources. Jaren, I think these new resources are a lot more grindy than the old resources, but maybe that's just because, they're new to me and I don't know how to grind them properly just yet.
Fair enough.
But like the new pals are all like very interesting. I think one thing I really appreciate about the new pals is that they didn't limit them to the new island. They did kind of sprinkle. Yeah, they did sprinkle them throughout the already existing part of the game.
That's nice. So I gotta ask you, Matt. In terms of the new pals, what are some of your favorites, and which ones uncomfortably look a lot like Pokemon?
Jaren, I don't think for any of the new pals I've run into any that look a lot like Pokemon.
Okay, sounds good.
I think one of the good new ones that is they added as a kind of low-level new one is Crojiro, which is basically just like a round, like a fat frog with like, that is like a fat bipedal frog. And their power is very nice for the early game, which is that they flatten themselves and then you can use them as a jump pad.
That's pretty good, Matt. That's pretty good.
It's really good. There is a, pal that you get later. I think I like the design of. It's really just, your basic dinosaur, but his head is... Oh, actually, Jared, you might not like this. His head is like a mushroom cap, so it kind of just looks like he has a mushroom cut.
Oh, man. Classic mushroom designs, man. Classic.
And I think like another one is like, I kind of wonder how this pal is like really balanced, but like there's a new pal called Lulu who really is just like the ultimate base growing, what do you call it, or no, like your base gardening pal.
Okay,
because they just increase like the growth rate of all the crops that you have in your base. And
sounds pretty good to me, Matt.
Jared, it is very good. It's a very good ability, but I question abilities like this because this is the kind of ability that makes them a staple.
Right. Okay.
In, like, your thing. And
fair enough.
While I do, like it, I don't like that it exists.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just because that kind of forces a meta onto you as opposed to just kind of playing around with your pals. Where that kind of takes away the fun. But to a min-maxer like me, Matt,
of course you got to run Lulu.
Pretty good. Run Lulu. Oh man, Matt, what does Lulu look like?
Jared, she kind of looks like a big, huge blossom. I guess if we're going for a Pokemon look, but with more realistic hair.
Fair. That makes me uncomfortable, but okay. But
Jared,
okay.
Oh man, I think one of my biggest disappointments, Jaren, since I initially played Palworld, they have patched the exploit that allows you to catch the gym leaders.
No, Matt. I didn't get Zoe? No.
Oh,
feels bad, Matt. Feels real
bad. Jaren,
Matt, is there a black market of Zoe attached to the not tutorial Electabuzz?
Oh man, Jaren, there is a mod, as always on Nexus Mod, that allows you to catch the gym leaders. I am deeply considering installing it on the server.
Fair enough, Matt. Please, maybe that will get me to go back.
Oh,
I guess my last question at the very least, gotta
Mm-hmm.
ask Matt,
Mm-hmm.
any new customization items that are less, let's say, introductory to Monster Hunter and more modern?
I don't think. I mean, they added like more futuristic weapons. Like they added like a laser rifle. They added like flamethrowers and stuff. But I think as far as just like decoration or like character decoration, they didn't really add anything new on that front.
Hmm.
They did actually add a thing that lets you like put skins on pals, but it isn't really fleshed out just yet. All it does is that you add sunglasses to one particular pal.
Right. Oh man,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty good, Matt. That's pretty
Mm-hmm.
good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Palworld new update. Anything upcoming? So I know this is a Beefy Boy update, but anything on the roadmap or anything announced or for near or far off future that might be cool or you're looking forward to?
I haven't seen any like new what do you call it like info on what they are going to be doing on like the roadmap post Sakurajima update stuff. No.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So good time to go back though, is what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying.
Good time to go back. Good time to check it out. Oh, one thing I didn't mention, they added raids to the thing, which lets you summon
Nice.
just like a very tough monster to your base. So make a second base instead of doing it in your main base. I guess is the hot tip there.
Okay. Thanks, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that in mind. I'll
Mm-hmm.
keep that in mind. But Matt,
Mm-hmm.
Pal World, the first time I played it at the very least was on Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, some news from Microsoft this week that I wanted to touch upon
Yes.
real quick.
Yes.
And of course, in classic Mistake Zone fashion, I'm going to lift a summary off of Reddit,
Mm-hmm.
namely from Wild Bearborn. But, Microsoft announced this week that there is going to be some new Game Pass changes being implemented this year. Um, Mainly a new Game Pass level known as Standard will launch in September. Doesn't include any day one games. Includes online play, but no cloud gaming. Priced at 14.99 USD per month. Game Pass Ultimate will be have a price increase to 19.99 per month. PC Game Pass, the price will increase to 11.99 a month, and Game Pass Console will be discontinued for new users. Current subscribers will be allowed to maintain their sub, but I believe if that lapses, you're done so, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all saw, or at least we all knew in the back of our heads that this would be coming eventually, especially with the talk of Call of Duty coming to the service. All the
Mm-hmm.
discourse of, oh, will there just be a Call of Duty tier? Will there be new tiers? Will there be price increases? And, we're finally here. And Matt, when it comes to just the upcoming, increases, but also the different tiers or new tiers. How did you feel hearing all of that?
Jaren, honestly, like I saw the price increase coming, but I think the thing that I felt the most when I saw this Xbox Game Pass news is that I feel bad for the the console people who are using the
Yes.
Xbox Game Pass because like a $2 increase on the PC Game Pass is not great, but it in my head they can't increase it a lot
Yeah.
on that side because then people just like get their games off Steam or something like that. Whereas the people who are on the like Xbox console are basically stuck there.
Pretty much. And I don't know, when I was looking at the new Game Pass standard tier,
Yeah, I know.
not including day one games, I
Yeah.
think one question that stood out to me was how what's the time period before those games get added to the standard.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're looking at Game Pass Ultimate, the price increase, that makes me think, oh, how many of the technical loopholes, legal quote unquote loopholes,
Mm-hmm.
will be quote unquote patched out from this,
Mm-hmm.
where again, we all saw this coming. Uh, but to finally see it here, I'm also just curious moving forward how much of it is going to be supported and how much actually new games we see to the service, from third parties.
Hmm.
How often is the catalog being updated? And I'm also curious just to see, I'm not sure if they'll ever release these numbers, probably not, but how much will standard, I guess, you know, take off where
Hmm.
sure you don't get the day one games, but to me the question is what's more enticing to the casual user, the day one releases or just a big library that you have access to. So I think just seeing how with the first of I'm expecting price increases every
Hmm.
couple of years just because all subscription services are doing those.
Yeah.
I'm just curious with this price increase, how much does the service, benefit from it, or does it weirdly plateau at this point where I'm still
Hmm.
getting value out of Game Pass personally? This week in particular, Matt, heavy week in terms of, that Capcom game, Flintlock's coming out. So while I'm pretty bummed about having to uninstall Elden Ring, my adventures ending there. Some new adventures are also beginning this week that we can, hopefully talk about next week as well. But yeah,
Hmm.
with the price increase, I'm hoping the service itself, um, you know, improves along with it, is still
Yeah.
going to be supported. And I don't know when my membership lapses next May, will
Hmm.
it be in a state that makes me, comfortable continuing to subscribe to the ultimate level, or will I just become, oh, new game I want to play? Maybe I'll, drop down the $20 rental fee or,
Hmm. Hmm.
the $12 rental fee.
Yep.
So
That's where I am, Jared.
yeah, I don't know. It We knew it was going to happen sooner or later, and I guess it did. But again, it just sucks too, just because with all the services piling up. Not to really get into that conversation, but we're at that point of we're picking and choosing what we
Hmm.
still remain subscribed to, and even though this is still a couple of bucks a month for Ultimate, for PC Game Pass, it still adds up. Where
Yeah.
with the first price increase, once my membership is up for renewal, it's okay. How much is the service supported? Will I feel comfortable staying subscribed, or will I become the monthly user? So only time will tell there. And hopefully, I don't know. It still seems like Microsoft is still trying to figure it out, Matt.
Hmm.
And hopefully they do. But
I mean, Jared, you just
uh,
gotta hope for Game Pass on Switch 2.
oh man, can't wait to start talking about that, Matt. But Matt,
Hmm.
speaking about exploring things in theory,
Uh huh.
Matt,
Hmm.
you brought up a game that you wanted to talk about this week.
Yes.
That's currently, I believe, the closed alpha has just wrapped up. And mind you, to all our
Hmm.
friends, neither one of us was in the closed alpha.
Yeah.
But you said you were looking into it, and when I briefly looked into it, I was actually pretty intrigued with what was going on. But Matt,
Hmm.
from outsiders looking in, what's
Yes.
Battle Aces?
Jaren, Battle Aces is a light RTS game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it is Jaren. I thought, because I had heard of Battle Aces previously, um, it is kind of like being headed by David Kim, who is one of the balance designers, or who was, I guess, one of the balance designers for StarCraft 2 for its whole kind of like lifespan until Blizzard imploded.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for the longest time, thought that this was basically just, a StarCraft like. Something that I thought was going to be directly competing with Stormgate. Simu Liu's favorite game.
Of course.
Uh huh. And I only just recently started actually watching, like I guess like real coverage of Battle Aces where from this like closed alpha and the start of the closed beta, people are casting matches, and it's a lot more like easy to come across. Just like random people playing this game. And what I saw was very, very interesting to me because it is not StarCraft at all. This is, I think, like a very good kind of relation that I saw somebody say was that this is to StarCraft as Hearthstone is to Magic the Gathering.
Okay.
And I think I like kind of agree with that because Jaren, this is the micro portion of a StarCraft game.
Yep.
This is StarCraft if you don't have to spend as much time thinking about your minerals and like your macro side of the game, which is arguably the more important side of StarCraft. But for our viewers' side, it is like the less seen side of StarCraft. But like to go more into Battle Aces specifically, what Battle Aces is that it is a real-time strategy game like where you have a base. It is going to be generating you resources, and you are going to use these resources to either expand and like get a increase into resource your income speed, or you're going to tech up to have more access to bigger and beefier units that you didn't have before, or you're just going to use like the money that you're gathering to create the units that you have access to, and you're going to be sending them off to attack your enemy. And this game is introducing a lot of interesting stuff because from what I understand, this game is going to be a free to play game.
Yes.
And it is going to kind of be following the League of Legends, I guess, kind of like system where the units that you're going to be able to build in game are units that you are going to have to buy with in-game currency that you earn from playing the game. And you I think very interestingly to me, will not always have the same you have the same pool of units that you can choose from as your opponent usually, but you will not necessarily be able to deploy all the units inside your pool. You're going to be selecting 8 of them before you start the match, and with these like 8 that you've selected, you are going to fight against your opponent.
So it's essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but you're essentially putting, a deck together.
Yes, yeah, they do call them decks, like your unit deck is what they call it.
And if you want to get really grody, Matt, I feel like at the very, base foundation, I don't want to say it's like a Clash Royale, but Matt, I'm seeing hints of a Clash Royale in my opinion. But
like, I think that's like a kind of like fair comparison, yeah.
Where just the notion of, you're grinding towards certain units and then putting that together and then going out to take the world. I do know there's no, text chat, and hopefully there's no emojis or emote stickers that make me feel bad about myself. But Matt, I've also heard some stuff about how, with that selection of units, how really you can be put into a situation where someone may grind towards a certain unit to add to their deck and play it against you, who has never ever seen that before.
Yeah.
Let alone have experience playing as it and playing against it. Where, how does that concept sit with you?
Jaren, personally for me, I don't like it, but I think that something like that has been normalized enough in a lot of games. Like, obviously League of Legends is doing it, Overwatch is doing it. Basically any like free to play game is doing it, and I think that really does just become a gross part of the learning curve towards like this sort of like games as a service type game,
where that seems bad in theory, but I feel like we also forgot to mention one thing that really stood out to me as well. In that, as you said, you're taking out a lot of the, you know, macro, like the technical macro elements,
Yes.
and then, boiling it down to the more strategic micro elements where, Matt, these games go by pretty fast, don't they?
Yeah, the like time limit on a game is 10 minutes, and I have never seen in any of the games that I've like, just watched that are casted online, I have never seen anybody hit that 10-minute marker. I don't even think I've seen people hit the 9-minute like point in these any of these games. So these games are quick, Jaren.
So while a typical, RTS PvP game might last you what, Matt? What's an average StarCraft
Like 20
match?
to 30 minutes, I think. Yeah.
And boiling that down to like, one third of that, Matt, this reminds me of another game that attempted to, boil it down, take that technical aspect away from it, and more of that, give players more of a strategic element in Dive Kick. Matt,
Okay, yes.
is Battle Aces the dive kick of RTS?
I think it might be, Jaren. Like, I'll be honest, I don't have too much experience with dive kick, but from what I have seen of dive kick, it looks like it could be, because it. I think what I am seeing is that it is a Battle Aces a lot like what I saw of dive kick, is that it's taking away a lot of the, technical things that hold somebody back and gives you the fun part of the game to like
the mind
play
games,
with in a much more simple way. And I think that like it is a very fair comparison to say that it is the dive kick of RTS games. And I honestly think that maybe I think that like this is going to, if Battle Aces is able to take off, I think it becomes its own like sub-genre of RTS games, where it's not like a real RTS game. It's more like a tactics, I don't know, like a tactics battler or tactics fighter instead of like a tactics strategy game.
Where, again, the bite-sized nature, and I guess not necessarily calling this a casual game, but a more casual approach to it, makes me really kind of interested in playing it as well. But Matt, as someone more versed in the RTS genre with a 10-minute time limit, I think my fear is that games are already won or lost by minute 2 or 3, where from what you've seen, and I guess your experience in gaming, how likely do you think a game like this, a player is able to make a comeback?
I think it's very possible because of the way that they have kind of designed the game. In that, from my understanding, they are focusing on creating this game around counters. I think that when a game like this is designed around counters, you have a very good chance to come back if your deck contains the right units.
Right.
Because they have like, some enemies are, or some units are, just your standard units. Some units are able to, do a blink. Some units are heavily armored, so they take less damage from certain enemies. Some enemies are in the air and they can't be hit by certain other units. And, there's some units that are just designed to take out units in the air, but they are weaker against units on the ground. Like, there was a lot of... I think like it seems like the units are all designed with a lot of, you're good at this, but you're bad at this. And I think that sort of unit design leads to a lot of potential for, what do you call it? Like comebacks in games. Or like you're not done until you're like, you're really done type games.
So again, this is going to be free to play when it eventually comes out. Matt, we got to say this just because every time the free to play phrase comes around, Matt, how are you feeling monetization wise? That do you think this game can get icky? And I know this is probably unfair of us for a game still in development, but when I think of, you can buy units there's a free daily rotation.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that makes me a bit hesitant. But how are you feeling?
I mean, to be honest, I also am a little bit hesitant as well because of, the unit buying and with how many units they have. Like, oh, the Jaren, I've definitely played games like this where I've bought a unit and it turns out I didn't like them, and I
Right.
feel like, oh, I wasted my time on this unit. From what I've heard from just kind of like reading online on Reddit and stuff, they have said that like your credit acquisition is like at a pretty decent rate. Like you can probably afford a new unit at like once every like 30 to 40 games, which sounds like a lot, but when you consider that like a game is going to be on average like 5 minutes, it's probably
Yeah.
not really all that much.
Okay.
But I don't know, like Jared, I am very like interested in like seeing their monetization because I think I'm interested in seeing the skins that I'm assuming that they are going to create for this game.
Right. Of
Because
course.
Jaren, I gotta say that like while the design of these like units is very like I think like perfectly fine, I think it is also fair to say that the design for these units is very neutral, I guess.
Okay.
And I'm interested in seeing how they are going to, or like what kind of skins they're going to create for these characters. Because I do not doubt that this game is going to have skins in it.
Yeah. Of course, Matt. Of course it will.
Of
Of
course.
course it will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh Matt.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I need this game to look more anime. But that's just me. But yes,
No.
Battle Aces
Mm-hmm.
closed beta. Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, is this something when open beta comes around you'll probably jump into?
I think I am going to jump into it, Jaren. But like, I'll be honest, Jaren. The thing that interests me the most about this particular game is how the kind of like public audience is going to react to it. Because like I said, like I think that this game is competing against Stormgate as like they are both kind of like going to be filling the I guess like visually the same niche. And I'm wondering if this being a simpler game that has action much more immediate versus something like Stormgate, which is far more like StarCraft, where it is like the kind of build up of units and like you are handling your macro at the start, like how it's going to play for just like the audience side of things
Right.
because
Yeah,
of like
I'm wondering if this takes off more as, a player on the player side rather than a spectator side. But only time will tell, Matt. Only time will tell. But yeah,
yeah.
Battle Aces sounds pretty cool, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to seeing how this, of course, develops, and
Mm-hmm.
of course, hopefully, you don't fumble that
Uh-huh.
free to play bag, Matt. That would
Jaren,
be
I'm
unfortunate.
worried that my biggest worry, Jaren, is that it's gonna go the route of HOTS.
Right, right, fair.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, I liked Hots. Rest in peace,
Yeah,
Hots.
yeah. Rip
Rest
HOTS,
in
rip
peace,
HOTS.
Hots.
Wait, Jaren, did HOTS actually die, or did it just go into like quote unquote maintenance mode?
They do bigger. There, from what I've seen, there hasn't been like a content drop in a while, but there has been like some substantial patches here and there.
Oh,
But
okay,
it's pretty
okay.
much maintenance mode for the most part. But Matt, another beefy boy episode.
Yes.
But
Mm-hmm.
can't end it without at least one more recurring segment for now. Matt, it's time for our weekly Don't Match Me challenge, where
Yes.
each week one of us will bring 5 categories. We'll tell our friends a question, and all our friends have to do is not match us and pick an answer different than ours. It's my week this week, and Matt, no real topic, so another general Don't Match Me challenge, but maybe there'll be a theme here. Okay, Matt, there's a theme. Let's start off. Pretty general,
Okay.
pretty general. Matt? Let's start with the letter J.
Oh man.
And my PSN name has the word jam in it. Where Matt started off pretty simple. Let's name, don't match me, name a type of jam or jelly spread.
Ooh. Ooh.
Pretty easy. Jam or jelly spread. Something to put on toast. But in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm not don't necessarily prefer this one, but I went with fig jam.
Ooh, Jaren, I don't think I've ever had that. I can't imagine what that tastes like. But I went with what I have in my fridge right now, which is blueberry jam.
Oh, blueberry jam. Good jam, Matt. Good jam.
Good jam, good jam.
Matt, when I was putting this together while doing the dishes, I thought I told myself I would pick toe jam as a goof, but I completely blanked on that. Completely blanked on it. Okay, Matt, category 2. Let's say A, in terms of name a anime that Matt, name a anime that stars or has a cast of animals.
Oh.
So, any anime where one of the central characters or all the characters are animals. And let's do it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Matt, I went with Odd Taxi.
Oh, man. Jaren.
Yes.
I can't believe I'm out already.
No, Matt. Matt, I thought you were going to go with one of the cat ones that we talked about.
Man. Jaren, I was honestly blanking. I could only think of Odd Taxi or Be a Star.
Fair. Matt,
oh, man.
Again, I was thinking about Tiger Mask when I was putting this together, but went with Odd Taxi because, Matt, I love me some Odd Taxi. Matt, maybe I'm going to rewatch Odd Taxi and talk about it on a future episode. Don't hold me to that. So, Matt, let's go with R.
Jaren, I can't believe you're doing this.
Let's go with R, Matt. And Matt, when I think about the letter R, I think about a remote control. So easy peasy. Name any button on a standard TV remote control. Name any button on a standard TV remote control. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Matt, I went with volume up.
Ooh, Jaren, I went with Source.
Oh, nice. Matt, originally I had menu or input, but gotta go with volume up. Volume up.
The classic.
Matt, category 4, let's go with E. And Matt, when I think about the letter E, I think about an egg. So just don't match me challenge. Name any way to cook an egg.
Ooh, okay.
Matt, a lot of different. Matt, I'm pretty sure we did this before, but oldie but a goodie. Name any way to cook an egg in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Matt, I think we did this before, and I think I said poached egg, so I'm gonna go with poached egg once again.
I do remember this now because I went with my previous answer, which is over medium.
Nice, Matt. Let's see if our friends also remember that. But Matt, to end off this Jaren Don't Match Me challenge, N for when I think about the letter N, I think about Nintendo because I'll forever be a 10-year-old. So Matt, final question: name a Nintendo home console. Ooh. So we're not counting handhelds, but if you wanted to pick, the latest one, I'll that counts. But a Nintendo home console is something you hook up to a TV, and then switch. You use your input button to switch to on your remote control to switch to the games, man. Name a Nintendo console in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, man. If you said the Wii U, you're out.
Jaren, I went with the N64.
Classic, Matt. Not liking this, the discourse. The modern discourse of, hey, the N64 wasn't that great. Matt, it's great to me.
Jared, the N64 was amazing. Those people are crazy.
It's great to me. And Matt, that has been another Don't Match Me challenge. That has been another episode of The Mistake Zone. As always, Matt, I want to thank you for joining me this week and editing this podcast.
Yo, thanks, Jaren. As always, I want to, thank you for, as always, hosting this podcast and bringing us our very Jaren-focused Don't Match Me challenge.
Thanks, man. Matt, Whenever I don't have a Don't Match Me challenge, you best believe it's going to be Jaren focused.
Oh man.
I want to shout out my dog who sneezed. I'm not sure if our friends heard that sneeze, but I'll tell you the rough time stamp just in case, Matt. And want to thank her for putting up with me taking her in a walk in the rain, Matt. I want to thank the Elden Ring.
Oh man.
I want to thank the friends who fought along me, who I don't know why they fought along me, Matt. Want to thank.
Oh wait, Jaren. Sorry. Before we get too far away from Elden Ring,
Yep.
Jaren, I don't want to think from Soft because
Yes.
Jaren, I found out yesterday that it's not pronounced Sakurajima. Jaren, they did that scene. Jaren, I don't know if you did this. I don't think we talked about this on the show, but when in base Elden Ring, there was like those like circle like jail things, right?
Yes.
And I didn't know because they spelled it like Goal.
Yeah,
and I thought
like
it was
Gals
like
or
Gowl.
something.
And I was like,
Yeah.
I was reading as Gowl the whole time.
Yep.
And when I found out it was like, read as jail, I was like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. That's really stupid. I don't like that you did this from South.
Yep.
And I can't believe that they did that again with Sakurajima because I thought it was Sakurajima this whole time. Apparently it's Shadow Tree.
Yeah. I don't know.
It makes sense, but
It's
I
been
don't like
memed as Skibbity Tree to me, so I just call it
man.
Skibbity Tree because I need to feel like a youth. Matt, I want to thank No, I don't want to thank Crazy Taxis. Matt, I want to thank Rooftops and Alleyways. I want to thank the Gamepass deal that let me convert gold into ultimate. And I want to thank Matt. I want to thank Modern Takes on more hardcore gaming to open it up to everyone. Hopefully, Matt. But Matt, I think that's it for me. Please take it away.
This has been the Mistake Zone, and we're all out of $11 Xbox Game Passes.
Sad, Matt. Real sad.